Well, hello everyone. Happy Sunday. I'm recording this, putting this out here on Sunday, May 3rd, a few days before the imminent full moon. My name is Lisa, and this is Heart of Inspiration. Here at this channel, we help you lead a whole and heal, peaceful and prosperous and spirit-led life. Now, it is once again time for the full moon. This full moon is exactly, so the last full moon was April the 7th. This full moon is May the 7th. This is a full moon in Scorpio, opposition to the sun in Taurus. That brings with it a whole lot. All right. It is packed. So we're going to acknowledge the folks in the chat. Hello, Janet and Maria and Ceresia and Deanna. Everybody that's in the chat that has either said something or hasn't said anything yet. And I want to welcome all of you that are watching the replay. Now, I already see comments in the chat that people don't want to go diving deep into their emotions. Well, you can choose not to. Hey, Shona Mona. You can choose not to dive deep into your emotions if you so desire. It's always your choice. However, you're having an opportunity to fix some things up here. And you have an opportunity to do some fantastic work. Even if you don't want to dive deep, they're going to show up. And this is stuff that has to be dealt with. Otherwise, we don't want to be going back through this again, in a month or a year, right? Or 2 months from now. So let's look at the chart. I'm not going to hold y'all along on this beautiful Sunday. It's sunny here. And so I'm going to get outside and make a completely unnecessary trip somewhere. Well, not completely unnecessary. I'm going to pick up something. Anyway, it's my little dig for the day. So here we are. This is the chart. All right. As it's going to present itself on the 7th at the full moon. The full moon on May 7th is going to happen about 5:45 a.m. Central Standard Time. So this is an early morning full moon. This is definitely early morning. This is not one of those overnight jobbies. This is early morning full moon. And so that would mean 6:45 a.m. Eastern, 4:45 a.m. Mountain, 3:45 a.m. Pacific, and about 11:45 over there across the pond over in jolly old England. So, of course, as we all know, right? We all know this. The full moon means the sun is opposing, or the moon's opposing the sun directly. Opposing the sun directly. We're at the midpoint then. So it happened at 17 degrees Taurus, 17 degrees Scorpio. At that middle point in the general cycle, right? A little bit past midway through the general cycle of Taurus, the sun cycle. Whenever we have a full moon, though, in Scorpio, let me tell you something. A lot of that deep emotion, man, happens. That deep emotion, that stuff that you've buried, that you've stuffed down way down deep, and you didn't want to bring it back up, or you didn't want to talk about it. Feelings of where people may not have been too loyal to you, where maybe you were not as loyal as you could have been to others. a need to understand the why behind the what, a need to have a deep understanding of how did we get here, why are we here, what the heck are we doing, and how the heck can we resolve it if there is resolution necessary. I find this incredibly potent of a full moon, because by that time, it's just before, just before Mercury goes into retrograde on, a few days before, about a week before. I misspoke in my description, and I'll update that. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got a quincux. We've got a challenge to Venus and Gemini. We have a challenge on how we've been viewing our relationships. We have a challenge on how we've been viewing our interactions. We've been challenging those. We have a challenge to the ideas, even the new ideas that we've been formulating, the new intellectual thought processes, the new points of view, the new ideas of this is how we can maybe possibly live in. I'm not even going to call it a new normal anymore, guys, because this is like bizarro world outside of norm. This right now is very much bizarro world all over the world, outside of the norm. I refuse to call this the new normal. And in fact, I don't believe it's meant to be the new normal. I believe that we are going through a transition into what will be the new normal. But this ain't it. The road there is going to be bumpy, and the road there is not going to be always very pretty. So the moon quincunxing Gemini Venus in Gemini is still requiring us to have this thought process about what in the heck, how are we feeling, why are we feeling, what are we feeling, what do we hold dear, what do we hold beautiful. Gemini is actually very sociable as well, right? So these people, these individuals, or this just kind of global social activity that's just been demolished and decimated. Where are we at with that? How do we really feel about that? And how are we going to somehow navigate that? Who is it that we really should be holding near and dear to our heart? Venus does have a little bit to do with money, personal wealth, fun money. A lot of people's fun money ain't there anymore. So, there's a lot of these emotions that are coming up. How we look at it, the moon is reflecting the sun. So we are now we will be on the 7th, seeing a reflection to ourselves of, oh, this is how I've really been looking at life. Not only that, but we're seeing a reflection then of the world around us and what it really looks like in the mirror. Well, how can we really, really ascertain, sometimes you see a reflection of something and you see it for the first time. The moon will have passed up by this point, being in opposition. So right about here, so I'll say about early on the 6th of May, the moon will have been here in opposition to Uranus, still in Scorpio. So expect the 6th and the 7th to be a couple of pretty emotional days. And even as then it continues on its merry little way to oppose Mercury directly, right? Within hours, a few hours of opposing the sun as it's, leaving and waning. We're going to go through a gamut of how are we going to, where do we find our freedom? Where do we find our beauty? Where do we find our alternative way of having a foundational security that still allows us to move into the next world and into the next realm? Because that's really what's happening. Again, this is not going to be normal. How we're living right now is not going to be our norm. There's more change coming. And I'm not saying that to be ominous or something like that. But the reason why I am saying that most definitely is so that you understand that we're not stuck in this space and that there is a push for creative energy to be brought to the forefront for us. That there is a push for us to invoke our own creative energy and for us to invoke our own manifestation energy, for us to invoke our own co-creatorship, our divinity, in conjunction with the collective and source, to really break through and break free and create our world. Now, let me do this. I'm going to actually bring in, don't save. I'm going to bring this in again. Bear with me one moment, guys. Let me bring this in because I want to show you the aspects of the moon to some of the other planets. Now, remember the moon rules our emotions. And I know a lot of us have thought over the years and probably still think, well, emotions are just wasted. I can't trust my emotions. I can't trust it. Can't trust it. If your emotions are based on higher knowledge or higher self energy, then you bet your bottom bippy you can trust your higher emotions. You can trust that. That is true instinct. That is true wisdom. That's true knowledge. It's true light. What's coming from here and only based on third dimensional simulated reality, temporal reality, that cannot be trusted. Your higher self and higher wisdom can always be trusted as you learn to listen and hone in and hear it. So on that note, we're looking at the moon, positive aspects and things that are going to help us through this little time period. We're looking at the moon, like seriously, the moon it is trining Neptune, and Neptune at the same time is sextiling directly Mercury. Indirectly, I will say the sun. I mean, it's applying, it's within 3 degrees, so we'll call it that. While Neptune's in Scorpio. So that says we're now entered into the 3rd decan of Pisces. Some of the strongest, some of the most delusional, some of the most dreamy, some of the most inspirational, motivational spaces degrees of Pisces. We're going to be in that for a minute, a long minute, the third decan. But as we're entering on the full moon, how poetically, into the third decan, and Scorpio being its investigative CIA, FBI, CSI, KGB, MI6, being its most investigative self, really wants us to take a very deep look at and see what is the most appropriate for us, right? The emotions, the energy we have been setting in motion, the energy that we have been, our intentions where we've been applying our energy, where we've been applying our intentions, where we have been applying, putting in motion. What have you been consciously, consistently thinking of and manifesting in your life? Is it still serving you? Are those relationships, are those interactions, is that, I don't want to say your job isn't important, but listen, if you're not able to work right now, what else can we be doing? Like the job that you normally would have, what else can you be doing in your purpose to provide for your person? Right? It's critical that we figure this out right now. It's critical that we understand where we're at. It's critical that we dive deep into this. And can you dive deep for just a minute while listening to the Sun and Taurus, that energy coming, the Sun and Taurus, Mercury and Taurus, even Uranus, the desire for independence and freedom, and upsetting and kicking over, tipping over our sacred cows that we've held true and we've held on to for dear life for all this time, because that's all we've known. Tip them over. Bye. They gotta go. Now we're listening to Taurus. We're taking that creativity, because dreams can become reality. That's the beauty of walking as a spirit-led being. That's the beauty of understanding that you create your reality. You create your universe. So we cannot continue to just say, oh, well, this is what everybody says on the television. And I'm not saying that there aren't third dimensional realities out here. Please do not. You can miss me with the commentary and the condensation, okay? Stop being, I don't want to hear it. I'm not saying that there are not things happening in the 3D. So let's just get that clear. What I am saying is this: you have control over your 3D. You've been given that control over your 3D. You've been given the ability to consciously choose what you focus on. Now, if you want to consciously choose to focus on fear, illness, destruction, then you're more than welcome to. Godspeed. But if you want to take a really honest look at yourself, a real honest look at yourself, a real honest look at your circumstances, a real honest look at all those things that everyone has always told you all your life, a real honest look at your dreams, your visions, your desires, those things that you've seen long time ago, and say, you know what, maybe it's time that I activate those dreams and visions. Those of us that are given to dreams and visions in the spirit realm will see an additional, an uptick in that activity, I do believe, especially because we've got a square here of Neptune squaring off with Venus in Gemini. So those that are given to dreams and visions, I would look for a definite upswing in them. I do see heightened like spiritual activity coming at this full moon. Because and personal activity. It's quite powerful, actually. Because by this point, here is Pluto fully in its retrograde, sextiling both the moon and Neptune. Both. Here she is. That should be blue. Sextiling Neptune and sextiling the moon. So she's really ready to be the catalyst for the change. She's really ready. Pluto is ready in Capricorn during the retrograde time to assist you greatly in your transformation. And the transformation comes from the dream, from the vision, from the higher consciousness, from that high priestess energy. Okay? And then comes from the beautiful moon in Scorpio, which is the home of transformation and death to self, death to what you have heretofore believed that had to be true, and then rising as the phoenix that you are. By this point, Saturn should be in retrograde as well at 1 degree, right? At 1 degree Aquarius, about to come back over the next course of the next, few weeks, really, back into Capricorn to do yet another dance. And then at very shortly hereafter, right before Gemini season, we will have Jupiter and Venus going retrograde. So this is a beautiful moment in time where we can say here, there's definitely room for expansion, and let's get that personal expansion done so that we can then impact the collective and gain some ground here while retrograde Palooza has kicked off. Because Pluto kicked us off and retrograde Palooza snuck up on us. And it's about to be on and popping. Also, this is gonna be the last full moon, I believe. Don't quote me on that. If I'm wrong, you can get me. But I do believe this is gonna be the last full moon with this axis of the moons, the absolute, the true north and south node in Cancer and Capricorn. If the true north node is to be more like a Cancer and have your higher intuition always working for you, wanting to make sure that the collective is cared for, loving on self and loving on others, okay? Now, granted, we can be some manipulative little crabby pants, but hey. We all have our dark side. So listen, this is the last full moon for this. So what has this meant for you foundationally? How have you grown on a personal level, and then, relationship to the collective? I always bring everything to the collective. How is that working? What are you doing? What is that last, as we're nesting and we're moving out of the nest now into Gemini and Sag? Different axis, different energy. As we're moving there, what does that really mean to you? Let's make that last stand. Let's release ourselves from being so tied to certain social mores and social ideas. Let's release ourselves being so tied to this concept that we must look outside of ourselves to find our true power, but that we must look outside ourselves and that we're in need of outside external assistance in order to even initiate creation. You do not. You have been given this, right? You've been given it. So stop begging an external source to come save you. And to come exit and snatch you up here, exit stage left. Because, baby, it's not happening. You here. Y'all better get your own power that you've been already given and understand that you as a divine entity of the grand divine, of the supreme source divine, all of heaven is actually waiting for, if we want to go biblical terms, all of heaven is actually waiting for you to decide that this dream state, this highly evolutionary person, this highly evolutionary being, this light being, this strong tower, that person that can see in the future and knows their future is good and has investigated all of the secrets and understands that there may have been some places we've been lied to on a very personal, independent level. Waiting for that person to tap into all this up here. Change your foundation, raise up your consciousness, and take the land, air quotes, take what's been given to you. Take your birthright. Go for it. So when I say dive deep in your feelings, I'm going to need you to go, I'm just asking you, can you go a little deeper and see where you have felt like you didn't deserve something, why you feel that way, and can we release it? This quincux here is a challenge to that. It's a challenge to what you've held dear and true, and it's saying, maybe it wasn't all right and uptight. Maybe. And maybe we can release our true power and live in it finally. Ooh, all right, y'all. I did good. I wanted to be with y'all for about a half an hour. Here we are. Here we are. All right, guys. That's my summation of the situation, okay, for this upcoming full moon. We're going to be doing some tarot the next couple of days. And be on the lookout on the website for your retrograde report. That's what I'm calling them, retrograde report, aspecting all of your natals, okay, your natal chart to the retrograde planets for about the next 3 months. It's about as far as I'm willing to go. Will this make the self-love worth issues a bit easier to more? I do think that, yes, it will make it easier. Those that are dealing with self-love, I think that they will make it a lot easier. I really do. I really do. Because Pluto is right there to assist in transformation, and it's kind of taken that little step back and said, all right, I'm not going to be so hard charging. Let me take a step back into that foundation and assist you. So I do believe that's going to make it a lot easier. Okay, guys, that was a great question. All right, so this was amazing. Thank you so guys so much for being here. Again, be on the lookout on my website, and I will be putting up a community post, okay, for the retrograde readings. And don't forget, still for this month, 40% off. 40% off the live readings. Okay, 40% off the live readings. All right. Janet, go and check your email, please. So that's still going to be for a little bit. All right. So, but I'm not going to leave it up there forever. So take advantage of that while we have it. This is a good time for people that want to get into mentorship, a mentorship cycle, to get into the mentorship with me. Okay. With that 40% off. All right. So check in on that. All right, guys. We will talk to y'all soon. Peace, love, blessings, and joy be unto you today, tomorrow, and for all eternity. I love each and every one of you. Thanking for liking, subscribing, and sharing. Namaste. Bye, guys.